With us in the studio today is Liza Burby, and she's an accomplished writer and author and publisher. She's also a mom. She's a wonderful person with a great community spirit, and I welcome her to our show today. Liza, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your writing.
Well, I'm one of those very lucky people who knew I wanted to be a writer the second I learned how to read, I should say. And I've had a wonderful career. I'm really pleased with what I've been doing. But it's interesting because the last 15 years I've been an editor, and for 5 of those years a publisher of Long Island Parent magazine. And the sale of my magazine was over in February. And since then I feel like whenever somebody says, "What are you doing lately?" I feel a little bit like an underachiever because that was my identity for so long. And I loved it. But while I was doing that, I was simultaneously writing books, 40 of them, teaching college. I teach journalism at Adelphi. I have a consulting business, so I help other authors. And I was writing for magazines and websites. So I think I'm still doing that. But it's just, I've been adjusting to who I am now, and it's been an interesting time.
Yeah, because it used to be like Liza Burby, comma, and then some title, right? This or the other thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people, when they have accomplished a lot in their career, they do identify themselves with their brand.
Yeah.
Right? And it's time
absolutely.
to just be Liza Burby, right? Without the comma something, right?
It's true. And it's simultaneously, I became an empty nester. So it's really been quite a transitional time for me. I'm not 100% an empty nester, but my oldest daughter now lives in Queens, and my youngest is a college junior. And so she does come home. But for periods of time, I'm not worried about the daily things anymore, like the bus and the lunch and the homework. And so it's a big adjustment.
It is funny too when fall comes and the school bus comes, right? Did you have that moment this year where you hear the school bus coming and you think you need to go and knock on the door to get your child up and you realize they're not there?
It's true. Although I did hear from my daughter, she was stressed about her anatomy class, and then I heard from my other daughter who wasn't feeling well. So there really is no downtime.
Right, they still need you.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Just not the day-to-day stuff.
Now, when you decided to start helping other authors write children's books or any books at all, how did that begin for you? Somebody just kept asking for your help over and over and over again?
Yeah, I mean, that's when people know you're a writer, they suddenly want your input. And I feel the nurturing side of me wants to help. And so I just put the two things together. And whenever people come to me for consultation, I will walk them through what they've written. I'll help them edit. Basically, one of the things that writers do not seem to understand is that writing is a business first and foremost. And I think making writers understand that, teaching them how to negotiate the business is really crucial. Because writers are artists first, but you can't be anymore. You really need to be a business person first. And I'm fortunate because as an editor and a writer, I've had that dual life where I can understand both sides.
What was your first book that you wrote, and how did it feel when you opened that page?
The first book I wrote was a middle grade book, actually. It was The Pueblo Indians, and it was amazing to see my name on the cover. But you know what's funny is that it was the process that I enjoyed far more than seeing my name on the cover. I really do. I just love writing, and for me, writing isn't just the writing, the process of writing. It's learning. It's gathering the information and learning about all the new things that I didn't know before. I mean, I'm really fortunate that I love my career.
And when you're teaching people, is that how you recommend that they do first? You teach them like step by step the whole process.
Yeah.
So you say first you should be an information gatherer, and then the next step would be to try to just write on paper, or do you suggest now people go immediately to the computer?
I think everyone has their own process. I interviewed Walter Dean Myers, who recently passed away. He is a very well-known young adult writer. And he had told me when I interviewed him that what he likes to do is he cuts out pictures from magazines and he creates a whole world on a bulletin board right above his computer. And so he can look up and visualize who the characters are that he's writing about. And similarly, people who are writing nonfiction do some things like that as well. So it really is about how you process information. You know, when we talk about kids, there are children who are tactile learners, visual learners, auditory learners. I think we need to recognize that in ourselves no matter what we're doing in our career. And, you know, I am a visual learner, and so that's how I need to look at the information, examine the information, and then put it together. Although I also really enjoy meeting people.
I
So that
think
helps.
because of your career, you helped people,
Yeah.
especially in Long Island, be better parents.
Oh, well,
because
thank you.
you were gathering all the best camps to go to,
Mm-hmm.
right? All of the most important resources, where to have the children's party, what to feed your child. Did you realize that that's what you were doing? Was you were gathering all these resources to help people? It's like a guide for people.
I actually really did know that I took my responsibility very seriously, that I felt as though I was creating the voice for parents. Not the only one, of course, but one that I felt like I always said it was from one parent to another. There wasn't any information I was giving parents that I hadn't perhaps needed at some time or had to give to a friend of mine. So I really did feel very responsible for making sure that I gathered everything that I could to help other parents parent a little bit easier, because we know how stressful it is.
It is a little stressful. It's a lot of fun, though.
Yes,
Well, you
it
just
is.
saw me take a call from my daughter from college today, right before we got on set.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful journey, and I respect that. I respect the fact that the content that went into your publication wasn't just pay to play. Wasn't just somebody that could just pay you to say, "Oh, tell them that eating Cracker Jacks upside down 4 times a day is going to be healthy for them." But you as an editor, you really did a due diligence, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, you know the history that when the magazine I have been editor of for 10 years was canceled, I had already felt this the responsibility towards my readers that I had to launch my own magazine and continue going with that. So it was a wonderful experience. It really was. It's just that, excuse me, it was like having another child. So, it's like,
One more baby to nurture.
Well,
and I
yeah.
remember calling you, and there would be days where you're like, "Oh, going to press, can't do this,"
Yeah.
and then there's days that you would surface. So did you at least carve out one day as an entrepreneur for yourself that was
No.
a day to breathe?
No, and you know
that's
what?
why you're breathing now.
Well, I
right.
think what I'm feeling now is relaxation. I didn't know what it felt like, so I'm calling it I'm underachieving. But no, I'm actually
No.
sleeping.
Okay.
I don't work at 2 or 3 in the morning anymore. I actually take weekends to myself. With my
Nice.
husband and the kids, and this is what normal people do. I don't
This
know.
is what normal people do. Well, you know what it is too. I tend to sometimes be a workaholic myself, and a lot of people will complain. But I really do love what I do, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened to you. You
Yeah.
loved what you did.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, what are you going to replace that with? And I told you should come on Live It Up and give parenting tips whenever
I
you
would be
want.
happy to.
You could be our parenting correspondent.
Absolutely.
So we would welcome you to our family, and I'm sure a lot of people are calling you now to say, the reason they're asking you what you're doing is because people just love working with you, and they're kind of wondering if
thank
you
you.
want to come on their team or what's speaking to you. And I know that you're constantly writing. I'm sure you already have 3 books in the making or something.
I do.
Okay, you want to give me just a little glimpse at one of them?
Well, I'm mostly working on health books right now.
Okay.
But in my spare time, I'm writing a young adult novel because my first and true love has always been to write fiction for children. So it's just one of those things that I'm going to give myself time for now that I don't have kids at home.
Excellent.
It's like I'm just carving out me time a little bit, just a little bit.
Little bit. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I'm sure you'll join us again.
My
And
pleasure.
as always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And you make me laugh, which is great. Everybody needs a friend that makes them laugh.
Aw,
so
thank
stay tuned for more on Live It Up. I'm Donna Drake, and we have been visiting with Liza Burby. Thanks so much for watching.